Forget the green rush. That speculative Wild West era is over. We're now living in what's being called the green reality, a time when the cannabis industry is finally growing up, moving way beyond its counterculture roots, and into a sophisticated, regulated, and honestly, a surprisingly innovative global business. So what does that actually look like? Well, let's dive in and find out.
Okay, to really get the scale of this, let's just start with one number, $149 billion. That's the industry's recent total economic contribution in the US alone. Yeah, this is not some niche market anymore. We're talking about a massive economic engine, and believe me, it's changing everything.
And that change? It's a huge fundamental shift. We've gone from what everyone called the green rush, that speculative kind of Wild West phase with all the startups and hype, to what's now the green reality. And this new era is all about operational discipline, strict regulations, and a whole new level of sophistication.
Okay, so to really unpack this transformation, we're going to look at 4 key areas. We'll kick things off with a major cultural shift, then we'll get into a complete packaging overhaul. After that, we'll explore how nature is literally replacing plastic, and finally, we'll meet the new cannabis consumer and see how tech is totally changing the game.
All right, first up, and this is maybe the biggest change of all. This isn't just about business, It's about how we live our lives, our social habits. Because for the first time ever, daily cannabis use has now officially passed daily alcohol consumption.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Think about it. A decade ago, that would have sounded completely crazy, right? Unimaginable. But today, it's a hard statistical fact. It is the clearest signal we have that cannabis has moved from the fringes right into the mainstream of daily life.
And look, we're not just talking about using it occasionally at a party. This chart shows that for more and more Americans, cannabis is becoming part of their daily routine. It's kind of wild. It's now a more common part of a wellness or relaxation practice than pouring a daily alcoholic drink.
And get this, it's not just new people jumping on board. It's a direct swap. A whopping 57% of consumers say they're actively choosing cannabis instead of alcohol. That signals a gigantic shift in how people are deciding to unwind and socialize. And that, has massive implications for the entire beverage industry.
So, all this changing behavior leads us right to our next big point. As cannabis goes mainstream, so does the way it looks. There's this tidal wave of new rules coming down, and it's forcing a massive, massive overhaul of packaging. It's basically killing that classic stoner look for good.
And don't think this is something happening way off in the future. Nope, the deadlines are here, like right now. The EU has huge new rules that become law in August 2026. And here in the US, right now, California's laws are basically ending single-use plastic, and New York is making recycled content mandatory. The pressure is on, for real. And these rules are super specific. It's like they've created a regulatory kill list for aesthetics. The goal is to protect public health, stop marketing to kids, so things like neon colors, bubble fonts, and any kind of cartoon imagery are now explicitly banned. And on the materials side, those shiny Mylar bags, gone. Same for toxic PFS, the forever chemicals that never ever break down in the environment.
So what's the result of all this? A total visual transformation. That old, loud, in-your-face look is being swapped out for something that's minimalist, almost like it came from a high-end pharmacy. We're talking clean lines, earth tones, simple, responsible design. It's a visual cue that the industry has really matured.
Okay, so if plastic is out and the designs are super restricted, what's the solution, right? Well, this brings us to one of the coolest shifts of all. The industry is turning to nature, pioneering the use of what you can call living packaging materials to solve these new problems.
This right here is the big question that's sparking a revolution in material science. With all these new fees and penalties, plastic is just becoming a financial liability. So brands have to ask themselves, how do we make packaging that's not just compliant, but is actually genuinely sustainable?
And one of the most incredible answers is something called mycelium. You can basically think of it as nature's glue. It's the root system of fungi. And you can actually grow it on agricultural waste, like hemp stalks or corn husks. And what you get is this sturdy, shock-absorbent packaging that's completely natural. Pretty amazing. And it's not just about fungi either. The industry is also using other biomaterials, like industrial hemp, to make everything from containers to pre-roll tubes. And these aren't just some sci-fi concepts. These are real, commercially scaled solutions that you can find on store shelves today. But here's the truly magical part. A lot of this living packaging isn't just recyclable, it's home compostable. I mean, in as little as 45 days, it can completely break down in your backyard compost, just feeding nutrients back into the soil. It's a truly circular system.
Okay, so we've got a new culture, we've got new materials, but who is the new consumer that's driving all this change? And with packaging getting so plain, how are brands even supposed to tell their story? Well, that's where tech comes in.
So a huge part of the answer is a whole new demographic that's now driving the market: women over 21. Their preferences are completely reshaping the industry. For instance, 29% of women prefer non-flour products. Think edibles, beverages. And that's almost double the rate for men. So naturally, that's pushing a ton of innovation in those exact categories.
So with all these rules forcing packaging to be so plain and, well, boring, brands desperately needed a workaround. And they found it. It's being called the digital loophole, using tech to create a rich brand experience that starts right where the plain physical packaging ends.
It's actually pretty simple. Here's how it works. So you see this plain, regulation-friendly box on the shelf, but then you just tap it with your phone or scan a QR code and boom, a whole digital world opens up. You can instantly see the lab results. You can learn about the brand's story, get dosage guides, everything. And it's all done without breaking a single packaging law. It's a really brilliant way to bridge that gap between the physical product and the digital store.
All right, so let's do a quick recap of the 4 huge shifts that are really defining this green reality. First, culturally. Daily cannabis use is now more common than daily alcohol use. Just wow. Second, from a regulatory standpoint, that old stoner aesthetic is officially banned. Third, the materials themselves. Sustainable, living packaging is becoming the new norm. And finally, the consumer. It's a new game, led by women and shaped by smart tech that's changing how brands connect with us.
Which really leaves us with this one big final question to think about. In a world where using cannabis daily is more normal than having a beer, and where the packaging is literally grown from mushrooms, are we finally seeing the total, complete normalization of what has been the most controversial plant in history? It's a pretty fascinating question to chew on. Thanks for diving into this with us.